Good morning and welcome to the webinar hosted by Baker Baines. If there's any technical issues or difficulties at the moment, before we start, please let me know. You can just type it in the text box and we can start. I'll just give it a couple of minutes and we can kick off. So if there's anything, if you can't hear me, you can't see the screen, please do let me know and we can have that fixed before we start. Thank you. Okay, so there's nothing from the guys. Thank you very much for joining. Today's webinar is based on smart features in AutoCAD Plant 3D. So we look at some of the features from 2018.1 release onto 2019, some of the improvements. So the reason for picking a webinar of this sort is just to, and features that people that exist and people perhaps don't use it often. So we're going to go through some of them just to have a look at them and see some of the improved functions. All right. So to start off, the agenda for today, we're going to look at improved features inside of the Plant 3D and also the interface. We'll look at some of the P&ID improvements that have been made. Look at collaboration. So collaboration is actually really nice way to collaborate with external parties, colleagues or suppliers, or even guys that's on site or reviewing. So we look at some of the collaboration tools that you can make use of. Project backup. So it's always great to have a backup of your project and how you're gonna save your files and where do you store them, as well as the smart P&ID features that's available, right? That sometimes we don't really take advantage of and use. And then we look at the workflows, so some simplified workflows that will help us work from there. And then we look at the takeaway. Now, in the takeaway, the objective of that is to actually, the learning outcome highlights what the takeaways are, and you can actually see what you'll be actually going away with from this webinar. All right, we've got questions in the question panel afterwards, so we can have a look at it. All right, so, okay. Let's have a look. So before we start, can everyone hear me correctly? Is there any issue? Francois, I see you say that there are some issues with audio. Can you hear me better now? Okay, I think seems to be fine. Okay, if there's anything, please do let me know before we can. And if there is a way to sort it out, we can obviously sort that out. Okay. Okay, so moving on. The first improved feature that we look at is, of course, the collaboration. Okay, so cloud collaboration. So here are some of the features that's new, of course. And the first one we can look at is obviously the cloud collaboration that's been added. This came in 2018.1 from Autodesk, and it allows you to share your project with team members using the Autodesk BIM platform. So BIM 360 platform. It's a cloud feature, so you don't have to share it with users that's sitting in the same office. This could be users that's outside of your office, which is great, right? Because we always have the need to share and collaborate data. Next we look at is some of the improvements made. So Autodesk has done quite a bit of improvements to the P&ID side of it. And some of these include the P&ID Painter to highlight line-based properties on properties, right? And we can have a look at that in more detail shortly. One is spec-driven P&ID. This is to check that the P&IDs are compatible with the piping specifications that you've selected, and also off-page connectors. So this is a nice improved function, off-page connectors. This allows, these are now included with instrumentation lines. So that's actually great, right? If we look at project backups, there's now a simpler way to actually create backups using the cloud. and we can have a look at it more in detail. But if you think about it, it's easier, it's more effective for you to actually do the backup and actually the way you work with it. So someone is raising their hand in here. Francois, if there's any questions that you have, please type them into the type box and we can carry on. Thank you. We've also got the project manager. So there's some nice features added to the project manager itself, which allows you to find drawings much faster. Now, if you have a look at the project manager, the search functions, you can actually do a search function there, and you're able to actually find drawings a lot quicker, right? Okay. The next function is looking at some of the improvements done to the instrumentation support. So Autodesk have improved the instrumentation support quite a bit, okay, with handle instrumentation in Plant 3D. So you can actually have that go in and you can actually see how that is actually improved. Now, what's great here is if you look at the instrumentation that's there, you find that you could actually go in and change or modify a lot of the instrumentation that you add in just by clicking on them and actually changing it from the quick access drop down screen. All right. Next. Okay, so Francois is still struggling to hear some sound. Can everyone else hear this? Hear me? Is anyone else having sound issues? Please do let me know. All right, so let's move on. With some of the improved features, we find that there's also quite a bit of improved functions added in to the workflow. It's now easier by just using a right click, okay, to simplify some of the tasks in Plant 3D. Right, we can have a look at that in more detail. But if you got a right click on it on a drawing that's in the project manager, you have a lot more options to work off. And these are some of the improvements that have been added in of the function. One of them is the P&ID Painter. All right, the P&ID Painter allows you to change the colors of the P&ID pipelines depending on the property value that you selected. You also have mainly different painter setups, which are defined in the project setup dialog box. When you initially start the project, you can simply create a painter style, define the style settings that you're going to use, and then if there's any styles that needs to be changed, that will appear in the P&ID Painter box on the home ribbon. All right. Once you click on the P&ID Painter style, and select the style to review the P&ID lines according to the defined property value, you're actually able to see the defined styles that you added in there. Now you can see that on the screen on the left-hand side. You see the P&ID Painter there, and you can actually see the styles being defined in there. Okay, next. We find the spec-driven P&ID. Now, with the spec-driven P&ID, Autodesk have now added the ability to connect your P&IDs to the piping specs that you set up, all right? Otherwise known as spec-driven P&IDs. So when the spec-driven project is selected in the project setup, the P&ID settings, when you add piping specs to selected pipe, so in the same way as you would do rerouting of pipes, the non-spec symbol in the palette will be grayed out, all right? As you can see there. And however, the non-spec items can still be placed by using the color by spec, okay, style in the P&ID Painter, and the non-spec items that you have will be shown in a different color, right? So that's a very nice little add-in, or very nice improvement. Some of the P&ID improvements from the off-page connector itself. Autodesk has made a lot of improvements to the off-page connectors. If some of you guys can recall, most of them is the important thing is that now you can now use the off-page connector by connecting instrument lines, right? Also, these off-page connectors can be used to connect lines on the same sheet as well. So that's a really nice add-in that you can use, right? If we look at the P&ID Painter itself and the video. All right, so that's some of the new functions and new features that you can find with regards to the spec and the spec-driven P&IDs, as well as the P&ID Painter, which is really nice. It's really great. Some of these functions are improved and enhanced, so they're not really new, more enhancements, okay, that came in 2018, 2018.1, as well as some of them we see in 2019. Let's move on to collaboration. Now, with collaboration, there's multiple ways that we can collaborate. Firstly, we can collaborate using the cloud, and we can also collaborate using a tool like Vault, data management, okay, with things like shared views, as well as checking in and checking out drawings, right, and having access to different types of files. But let's have a look at the collaboration on the cloud. So the cloud-based collaboration itself. In here, we find that you can create and share projects with the BIM 360 side of it. So using BIM again and the cloud A360, you can create a project folder and you can share your workspace from there. And Autodesk has actually made it quite easy for teams to actually work together, especially smaller teams, by using these cloud collaboration tools. You can let both designers inside and outside the organization work together, and you can collaborate and share projects. If we look at sharing projects in Plant 3D itself, once a project folder is created, the projects can be created locally and can be uploaded to the cloud platforms to be shared. You can also invite team members to the project. So by creating the project, you can invite team members. Persons that you invited can either have edit or permission rights or viewing rights into the file. And if you're using something like a Vault, or even on the cloud itself, you've got the check-in and check-out drawings, okay? And this is managed by just a right-click and check-out, as you can see on screen. And once a drawing is checked out, no other user can edit that drawing. And of course, users can check the drawing back in once they're finished editing them and working with them, all right? Some of the other really nice improvements or enhancements is with regards to the XREF management. Okay, it's a nice feature and it gives us the ability to easily attach XREF files to the model itself, or the drawing itself. And using the attach button allows users to attach all reference files in a single operation. All right, so there's no going in and attaching them individually. This also connects the XREF back to the project folder, so they can be updated as the users changes them. Okay, these updates can be obviously controlled and as you work with them. If we look at automatic check-in or check for changes of the project, so with collaboration allows gives you the options or allows you to manage how files are checked out or checked in or even updated. All right, and you also got the settings that you can actually go in and change. If we look at the local backups, okay, you can create local backups and copies that can be simply created simply with just one click at any time. All right, and we can have a look now to see how this can be achieved. Okay, as you can see that creating backups and collaborating is actually quite easy to do with some of the improvements, enhancements that's there. Now let's look at one-click backup. Again, as you've seen in the video, just by right-clicking, you can actually go in and do the backups, okay, with a simple right-click that allows you to create these backups. Next, we'll have a look at how to create those backups. Okay, as you can see, it's quite easy to create these backups. Let's look at the project manager now itself and some of the enhancements here. So with the search function, I'm sure if you guys use this function quite often, it's actually nice and easy and quick to actually find a drawing in the project manager itself. So you can just by typing in the search box, search for the drawing you're looking for, the file you're looking for, and you'll be able to pick that up. Let's have a look how this is done. Okay, as you can see that it becomes really, really nice and really handy to actually have these functions available to us to actually work with that, right? Let's talk about the instrumentation and catalog that's added to the palette. So the instrumentation is now simpler in Plant 3D, right? Autodesk has added some enhancements into the instrumentation catalog in the palette for Plant 3D. So now you can manage instruments the same way you manage your piping components, right? We have a look at this. Okay, so as you can see, the instrumentation side of it is quite enhanced and quite nice to work off. And also there's some improvements with regards to isometrics with Plant 3D. And we find that Autodesk is the continuous improvements to Plant 3D itself, and isometrics as one of them. So they've made improvements inside the piping isometrics to improve the appearance of the isometrics and the drawings in one area where they have worked with users to improve things like slope lines that appear in the drawing itself, which is great, right? Because the collaboration and the feedback that they received from Plant 3D users were to have some improvements in this kind of area, and this is where some of the improvements have come into it. Now, for a detailed list on some of the improvements, you can always give me some feedback later, or a shout later, and pop me a mail, and we can actually I can share with some of you some of the data that regards directly to the improvements on this side. If we look at the simplified workflows, it becomes easier, as we've seen, to create simplified workflows. And one common request from users that Autodesk has received was the enhancements to how the workflow and how to simplify various tasks. Okay, so some of the things you've added, some of the things Autodesk have added in is a lot more context in the right-click commands. Right, as you've seen earlier on, you can check in, check out. Especially when it comes to working with the project manager, piping specs that's come across in the project manager makes it better and easier to manage piping specs for the users. And also you can modify specs in your own workspace and then upload them to the project, right? So those are things that you've actually seen, some of the highlighted features and functions. Also with regards to XREFs in a drawing directly from the project manager, so you don't have to open up the drawing first and then add them in. It's just done quite easily via the one-click kind of menu, right? All right, so looking at the simplified workflows, it's actually really nice with the right-click functions and with the extras as you've seen there. And some of the last kind of the last improvements that we've seen, some of the other improvements with regards to the 3D graphics, okay? And also there's also quite a nice bit of vault improvements that have been done. But also if you look at it, the small improvements were the appearance from 2018 to 2019, which came across. So the way it appeared, the way it looked a bit different. You found that there was also multi-select of lines during the production of quick ISOs, okay? Also export to PCF files, okay? That's also possible in 2019. And also the valve operator improvements, okay? So there's some improvements made there as well with the inline assets, with changing the valve operators, and also reducing T-size annotation with 3 ports. So this is a really, really nice improvement that you found. That we found, and there's an XML file that needs to be edited in the backend, and I can share documents with you and how it's done and how you can manage that to actually improve reducing T-size annotations that have 3 ports, as well as the removing of A360 from shared plant content in the project setup. That's also been enhanced, so you'll find that in 2018 and 2019, that function is not available. It's been removed from there, so it's easier to collaborate and share. Well, it doesn't get on the way, basically. And AutoCAD has also removed A360, as A360 will be depreciated from it. Okay, so you'll be using a BIM tool to actually do the collaboration. If we look at the takeaway from here, we find that with collaboration itself, there were some issues that were fixed up. All right, especially with regards to the project refresh that took a longer time. That was actually fixed up. Okay, and there was sometimes you would have found an error coming up, file not found. Okay, so that has been improved. Some of the instrument improvements that's been fixed and been improved in 2019 is the offline symbols, instrument symbols that are shown in ISO drawings. So those have been fixed. Again, we discussed the valve operator improvements. So there were issues that when modifications were made to the operator assignments in the catalog valves and subsequent updating of the spec didn't update. The valves within the new operator assignment, those never updated, so they have been fixed. Okay. There's also been some fixes when adding or removing sizes from the valve in the spec editor that have been fixed. Also, if you look at the orthographic workflow improvements, when a new AutoCube view has pipes cut by edges or the boundary of the AutoCube, you see the pipe break symbols are displayed on the auto view. Okay, this is to accommodate obviously the symbols, and the viewport is enlarged to include them. So there's some fixes that happen there as well. So if when there's an issue when creating the orthographic drawing previously with pipe systems that had existing pipe and connectors, there were some issues, so that has been resolved. Okay, and also the catalog builder fixer. Okay, so there's been some issues there previously that have been fixed. So exporting to Excel and importing data into the catalog builder has been fixed, and it works a lot better now. And also isometric improvements. All right. That have been improved. So as you've seen, there's some nice improvements with the ISOs that you can pull out, and you can see the changes. So there were some issues where there was a connected line number missing when the PPL pipeline connector to the PSW pipeline. All right. So there's some issue has been fixed up there, and also with the spool drawings when assigning gaskets with a spool number. From the spool number from a 3D model that has been fixed. All right, and now you can, of course, right click on the line of the exported PFC file dialog box and use the select all lines and clear all lines function. So that has been fixed as well. And there have been some fixes where it came with the ISO messages placed on the elbow, resulting in annotations on the isometric. So there's some issues there that have been fixed as well. Okay. If there's any questions or anything that you want to report back, you can always send me an email. My email address is daniel@bakerbaines.com, or you can always get in touch with me via telephone, and we can always have a discussion about it. If there's anything information that you would like shared, please also get in touch with me and I can make that available to you. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.